Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Friday, February 12th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or listening through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered in my over 46 years of doing therapy. These tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it'll take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. The book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book is a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to improve the quality of my life and relationships and actually turn my negative emotional states into an infallible guidance system to direct me every time my thoughts are off the mark, to remove whatever might be within my energy system, mentally, physically, emotionally, that might distort my perception. And in that process, my relationships have gotten better. I spend the tiniest fraction of time in negative emotions compared to what I did before I began to actively use that tool. I have more clarity about what's actually going on within my mind at deeper and deeper levels, just like the Way of Mastery says. Every time I use a process like that, a forgiveness process that removes garbage from my system, I take myself deeper into the purity of my own consciousness. You can also download the actual worksheet process absolutely free. It's a PDF file. Click on it, download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through the use of that tool, real-life problems, practical solutions. You can also download a completely free and private app from your app store that contains that worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. To get access to that, go to your app store and type in the 3 words, Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And when you do that, you'll see the glowing heart icon. Tap on that. It'll let you download a completely free and private app. And put it to use. We encourage people to do that soon and often. And then give us a call if you've got questions or comments about it. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, I will see that you're calling, and I'll announce you by your area code, and we'll take it from there. We've also, in this year, made the commitment to work through the Course in Miracles lessons. Today's lesson is lesson 43, and it reads simply, God is my source. I cannot see apart from Him. For those who have emotional loadings on a word like God, you can say, creation is my source. I cannot see apart from it, or make any other appropriate substitute. And the commentary in the lesson reads as follows. Perception is not an attribute of the Creator. The Creator is the realm of knowledge. Yet the Creator has created the Holy Spirit as a mediator between perception and knowledge. Without this link, the Creator, perception would be replaced knowledge forever in your mind. Perception would have replaced knowledge forever in your mind. With this link, perception will become so changed and purified that it will lead to knowledge. That is its function, as the Holy Spirit sees it. Therefore, that is its function in truth. In God or in creation, you cannot see. Perception has no function in God, in creation, and does not exist. Yet in salvation, which is the undoing of what never was, perception has a mighty purpose. Made by the Son of God for an unholy purpose, it must become the means for the restoration of His holiness to His awareness. So the idea here is the Son of God is every human being. Perception was made by human beings, and it's for an unholy purpose, not meaning an evil purpose unless you consider the ancient Aramaic definition of evil to be unripe, unfinished, or only partial. So perception breaks things up into parts where no part exists. Perception creates an experience, a hallucination of me as separate from the world, me as separate from someone else, etc. And so it creates the distortions that lead to all of the physical, mental, and emotional suffering that I experience. Perception has no meaning in the true sense. Yet, the Holy Spirit, this ability to ask and be shown from your higher level intuition, from your internal guidance, gives it meaning very close to God's meaning. Healed perception becomes the means by which the Son of God, every human being, forgives his brother and thus forgives himself. And again, this forgiveness process is the removal of whatever doesn't belong within his view of his brother, and the removal of whatever doesn't belong within his view of himself or herself. It goes on to say you cannot see apart from the Creator because you cannot be apart from the Creator. Whatever you do in creation, you do in the field of creation, in the field of Him, the God, the Creator, the big dude, whatever you want to call it. Because whatever you think, you are thinking with the mind of creation. If vision is real, it is real to the extent to which it shares the Holy Spirit's purpose. And then you cannot see apart from God, apart from all of creation. Then you cannot see a picture which tries to convince you that you are separate or separated from everyone and everything and all of God's creation. The truth is true always. This is one of the lines that comes over and over again, Course in Miracles and Way of Mastery. What is true always. And in this context, the fact that you are, as you were created to be, a part of the whole, holy in that sense, is always true. You can't be separated from your wholeness. You can only create an illusion, a delusion, as Einstein would say, an optical delusion of separation. The commentary continues and says, 3 5-minute practice periods are required today, one as early and as late as possible in the day. The third may be undertaken at the most convenient and suitable time that circumstances and readiness permit. At the beginning of these practice periods, repeat the idea for today to yourself with eyes open. Then glance around you for a short time, applying this idea specifically to whatever you see. 4 or 5 subjects for this purpose for the purpose of this practice period are sufficient. You might say, for example, God is my source. I cannot see this desk apart from him. Or you might say, creation is my source. I cannot see that picture apart from creation. Although this part of the exercise period should be relatively short, be sure that you select the subjects for this phase indiscriminately, without self-directed inclusion or exclusion. For the second and longer phase, close your eyes, repeat today's idea again, and then let whatever relevant thoughts occur to you add to the idea in your own personal way. Thoughts such as, I see through the eyes of forgiveness. I see the whole world as blessed. The world can show me myself. I see my own thoughts, which are like the Creator's thoughts. Any thought related more or less directly to today's idea is suitable. The thoughts need not bear any obvious relationship to the idea, but they should not be in opposition to it. If you find your mind wandering, if you begin to be aware of thoughts that are clearly out of accord with today's idea, or if you seem to be unable to think of anything, open your eyes, repeat the first phase of the exercise period, and then attempt the second phase again. Do not allow any protracted period to occur in which you become preoccupied with irrelevant thoughts. Return to the first phase of the exercises as often as necessary to prevent this. In applying today's idea to the shorter practice periods, the form may vary according to the circumstances and situations in which you find yourself during the day. When you're with someone else, for example, try to remember to tell him silently, the Creator is my source. I cannot see apart from him. This form is equally applicable to strangers as it is to those you think are closer to you. In fact, try not to make distinctions of this kind at all. Today's idea should also be applied throughout the day to various situations and events that may occur, particularly to those which seem to distress you in any way. For this purpose, apply the idea to this form. The Creator is my source. I cannot see this situation apart from creation. If no particular subject presents itself to your awareness at that time, merely repeat the idea in its original form and try today not to allow any long periods of time to slip by without remembering today's idea and thus remembering your true function. So, God is my source. The Creator is my source. I cannot see apart from the Creator. We're also doing Pam Grout's book, The Course in Miracles Experiment, and the 43rd chapter of that book is titled, Super God to the Rescue. She quotes Elizabeth Berg, who said, it didn't really come up that much, the need to yodel. Pam writes, when George Eastman introduced the first commercially available camera in 1888, he had a goal. He wanted to make photography, quote, an everyday affair, close quote. Or as his company Eastman Kodak later rephrased it, to make it as, quote, convenient as a pencil, close quote. And their marketing slogan was, you push the button, we do the rest. That's sort of how I see A Course in Miracles. I don't have to understand it. I don't even have to like what it says. I just have to push the button. Lesson 43, God is my source. I cannot see apart from him, is another one of those rip that sucker out lines for me. It's one of those lessons I don't like all that much. It's preachy, and it strikes me as not much fun. So here's what I do when I feel grumpy about one of the lessons. First, I flip through the text and find one of the lines I've underlined, one that I do like. For example, today I opened up to the text that read, quote, only you can deprive yourself of anything. The laws of happiness were created for you. Lack does not exist in the kingdom of God. And secondly, I replaced the word God, which, as I mentioned earlier, has more baggage than the Chicago airport. I replace it with one of my trusty synonyms. Today, or next, I turn my day over to the Holy S, or also known as the Voice. Relying on an unseen badass that happens to be holy is much more desirable than turning it over to the vicious brute that some churches pontificate about. And here's the clincher. In the end, none of it is up to me. I just have to push the button. So, the Creator is my source. I cannot see without the Creator. And I'll take a breath. I realize that it's Friday, and we have kind of a pattern going where we'll do Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays lesson. But I thought I would just take a breath and see if anybody wants to raise a hand and make a comment about that first lesson. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, I will see a little question mark go up by your phone number, and I'll announce you by your area code. And if nobody does that in a very brief time period, I will move on to the next lesson so that if people want to, they can have this input on the lessons as they go into Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes the weekends get a little bit rough for people, especially with these coronavirus restrictions. People are getting quite edgy, in my experience. So we will move along to the next lesson with no hand up, and that lesson is lesson 44 for Saturday. God is the light in which I see. Creation is the light in which I see. All that is the light in which I see. Today we're continuing the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in darkness, and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you see in it, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside of yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside of you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. This light is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Today we are going to attempt to reach that light. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see. Have at least 3 practice periods today, each lasting 3 to 5 minutes. A longer time is highly recommended, but only if you find the time slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of practice we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind, just as it seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. So, if the untrained mind cannot do today's exercise, what am I to do with an untrained mind? The phrase, "fake it until I make it," comes to mind. The commentary goes on to say, your mind is no longer wholly, completely untrained. You are quite ready to learn the form of exercise we will use today. But you might find that you encounter strong resistance. The reason is simple. While you practice in this way, you leave behind everything that you now believe and all the thoughts that you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Yet, when it is perceived through the ego's eyes, it is a loss of identity and a descent into hell. If you can stand aside from the ego by ever so little, you will have no difficulty in recognizing that the ego's opposition and its fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness, whatever you may believe to the contrary. God is the light in which you see. You are attempting to reach Him, it, all of creation, the light. Begin the practice period by repeating today's idea with your eyes open, and close them slowly, repeating the idea several more times. Then try to sink into your mind, letting go every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past them. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop it. It is merely taking its natural course. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by them. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, it is needful, what is needful in this sense is the importance of what you are doing. It is impossible to estimate how valuable this is to you. And an awareness that you are attempting something very holy. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. It is also the only one that has any meaning, because it is the only one that has any real use to you at all. If resistance rises in any form, pause just long enough to repeat today's idea. Keep your eyes closed unless you are aware of fear. In that case, you will probably find it more reassuring to open your eyes briefly. Try, however, to return to the exercises with eyes closed as soon as possible. If you are doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you are approaching, if not actually entering into the light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world. And do not forget that they cannot contain you. They cannot hold you to the world unless you give them the power to do so. Throughout the day, repeat the idea often, with eyes open or closed as seems better to you at the time. But do not forget, above all, be determined not to forget today. God is the light in which I see. The creation is the light in which I see. Lesson 44 in Course of Miracles, the Course in Miracles experiment, titled Go Toward the Light. Mary Carr is quoted as saying, "There's more joy than I knew." Pam Grout writes, "I'm not psychic, but I'm pretty sure that 100 years from now, hopefully sooner, future generations are going to look back at our belief in separation and limits and wonder, what were they thinking? How could they have been so misinformed?" 100 years from now, people will scratch their heads at our refusal to live in the light, to celebrate our joy in much the same way we look back at the Roman circuses. Are you kidding me, we think? How could thousands of people sit around drinking wine and being entertained by lions ripping apart gladiators? They will consider it laughable curiosity that we treated ourselves in this way, that we chose to suffer when right on the other side of the veil is everything we could possibly want. Lesson 44. The dude is the light in which I see basically tells me it's far more radical to live in light than to live in despair. The side effect of despair and limitation is I live at half throttle. By not delighting in my inherent gifts, I actually live out the outdated Roman circus and the Roman circus-like notion that I am weak and incapable of creating my own life. Future generations will also consider it freakishly odd that we felt so guilty and didn't have the fun and joy to which we are entitled. They won't understand why we didn't relish in our creative powers. Future generations will puzzle. Wow, they had this amazing gift and they left it sitting in the corner unwrapped? For what it's worth, future generations, I'm doing my part in 3 to 5 minute practice periods 3 times today to proclaim my light and spend my day in unadulterated wonderment. Lesson 44. The dude, God, light, creation, is the light in which I see. If you wish to continue, we will go to Sunday's lesson, lesson 45. God is the mind with which I think. The commentary reads, today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They are nothing that you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. So that's a little double negative-y and twisted, so I'll read it again. Today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. Your real thoughts are nothing that you think, just as nothing you think you see is related to true vision, because that process that we call seeing is really image creation. It's really each of us making up our best guess about the whole world outside of us. And most of us, many of us, the vast majority of us are not seeing with true vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what true vision will show you. You think with the mind of God, therefore you share your thoughts with Him, as He shares His with you. Those are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. To share is to make alike or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God ever leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. Therefore, your thoughts are in the mind of God as you are in the mind of God. Your thoughts are in your mind as well, where God is. As you are part of His mind, so are your thoughts part of His mind. Where then are your real thoughts? Today we will attempt to reach them. We will have to look for them in your mind, because that is where they are. They must still be there because they cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being a part of creation. Our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying yesterday's idea. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us what God would have us do is impossible. Instead, we will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is truly possible. We will also try to understand that only God would have us do, that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today, as it is the will of the Creator. Begin the exercises for today by repeating the idea to yourself, closing your eyes as you do so, then spend a fairly short period in thinking a few relevant thoughts of your own, keeping the idea in mind. After you have added some of your 4 or 5 thoughts of your own to the idea, repeat it again and tell yourself gently, my real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them. Then try to go past all the unreal thoughts that cover the truth in your mind and reach to the eternal. Under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. They are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They will always be in your mind exactly as they always were. Everything you have thought since then will change, but the foundation on which it rests is holy and changeless. It is this foundation toward which the exercises for today are directed. Here is your mind, joined with God, joined with the mind of God. Here are your thoughts being one with His thoughts. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven to God the Father and to God the Son. For such is the place where you are trying to reach. You will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet, even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but is an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven. In the shorter exercise periods for today, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two as you repeat the idea throughout the day to appreciate your mind's holiness. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of the Creator, whose host you are, and thank the Creator for the thoughts the Creator is thinking with you. The Creator is the mind with which I think. Lesson 45 from Pam Grout's book is titled, Like Housebreaking a Puppy. She quotes Kenny Loggins, who said, "We all long for love. Everything else is just killing time." Pam writes, "Training my mind to think with Source is like housebreaking a puppy. I keep taking it back outside and showing it a different reality until one day it finally realizes, wow, there's a whole big world out there. And it's a lot more fun to pee on trees and bushes and fire hydrants than to pee on Pam's ratty old house slippers." On a daily basis, I instruct my mind to look for beauty. I encourage it to seek out the bigger picture, to focus on the love. My mind is an incorrigible slacker. It keeps wanting to return to familiar old ruts. It keeps listening to the spin doctor that looks at the world as a potentially scary place. It insists on focusing on the information from my five senses, from the news media, from the default setting that says, be careful, worry, don't even think about learning to trust. So I just keep taking it back outside, directing it to focus on what I know to be truth with a capital T. The truth is that everybody in the world really loves each other and that kindness is always the correct answer. When I choose kindness and generosity in whatever situation I find myself, to whomever happens to be in front of me, it opens a crack to see a whole different reality. That tiny twist, a smile, offering a hand, even just being generous in thought, changes the inner landscape. It reminds me, here is how the world could be. Generosity doesn't fit the narrative, not in a me world. That's the very thing that shakes up the old story, the dominant paradigm. Anytime that puppy starts heading toward those slippers, I simply pick it up and take it back outside. The Creator is the mind with which I think. So there you have it. A lesson for today, a lesson for tomorrow, and a lesson for Sunday. Area code 520, you're in the air. Who do we have?
This is Audrey.
Is that Audrey?
Yes, it is.
Welcome. How can we support you?
Yes, you sure can. I'm stuck today, really stuck in the ego. Such as, the only way I could describe it is, if you look at the target sign with the red bullseye in the middle, the red bullseye in the middle, I feel like I'm in the red bullseye. This is a biggie, and I would like to have some support to do the worksheet. I have done work about this event, but it seems like it's coming in layers. And the event is that when my son was in the military, and he had about 2.5 months to go, he wanted me to come see him. Now, he was in there for about 4 years and was coming home. He asked me to come to Hawaii to see him. My husband said, no, he wasn't going to give me a ticket. Well, I resolved that block. But there's another layer that came up, and that came up today. And it's involving that incident. Okay, and I don't even, I'm so blocked I can't even get to do the worksheet. Here I am, a mother. I had enough money to finish buying the book before I graduated college to be an RN. He asked me at that time to come, and he would have housing. All I needed to do was a ticket. Okay, I figured, well, I have enough money to buy my book and finish college. At that time, I would take my state board, and I would be an RN. And I told him it wasn't going to work. What happened is he was a pilot. The plane was in trouble. All the boys died, the men died. Here I am now as a mother, and I've been carrying, I think it's guilt, and I feel as though I was a selfish mother who put my goal of graduating nursing school before my own son's need. And I have been carrying this around, and it's like a big boulder. What kind of a mother it was I. But then I say to myself, I am applying today's knowledge to yesterday's event. Because had I had the knowledge that he was going to die, I mean, I didn't even see a body. I had a casket with an American flag on it and a Marine standing there. Had I had that knowledge, I certainly would have done it different. But the ego part of the mind is keeping me in prison because of the guilt. Now the support I'm asking.
So what? Now let me just ask you this: what is it that is bringing this to the surface today? What is the thought pattern, or what was the trigger, or what's the image you're stuck seeing?
That I'm a selfish. I'm not a good mother, and I'm selfish. I'm not a good mother. I put something.
Okay, but what is it? What is it that's triggered that today?
Huh?
What is it that's triggering that today?
I wish I knew. I'm totally blocked. I want to do my worksheet, but I can't even attempt to do it because I'm blocked. That's what the support I need. What is the trigger? I don't know. I feel like I'm a selfish. I'm not a good mother. I wasn't a good mother.
Okay. So with the worksheet process, and I'm talking about the 7-step worksheet that's available for free off the website, whyagain.org, you can begin this worksheet with that thought. And you can take out a blank worksheet and go to the line that says 1D, and you can write in this word, I was selfish, I'm not a good mother. And you can begin your worksheet there, right? So you've got a very clear negative thought, and that's what I would direct you to do. Pull out a worksheet and go to the slot that says 1D.
Okay, I've done
there
it.
There are 5 parts to step 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the 4th part of step 1, 1D, and you write in the words, I was selfish, I was not a good mother.
Okay, I've already done it now as you were talking on the radio.
Okay. So now, when you think, I was selfish, I'm not a good mother, what emotion comes up most strongly? Anger, sadness, self-loathing? What emotion comes up most strongly?
I don't know if it's self-loathing or guilt. Is guilt an emotion?
Well, we're already, there is no hard and fast answer for this. Sometimes people use guilt as the emotion. In this work, we have found it's quite useful to consider that guilt is a constellation of negative thoughts. It's my fault, I did it wrong, etc. And so if I keep it in the realm of a negative thought or a constellation of negative thoughts, then I think, oh, it's my fault, I did it wrong, I was selfish, I'm a bad mother. What emotion gets generated?
I'm sad. I'm sad.
So that's fine. So now you put sadness or deep grief in 1B.
Okay.
And then we start the worksheet, and we ask people to read every line in the worksheet. We aren't going to read every word today, but we want to begin by remembering that our essential nature, our human life, is this energy of love and creation. And the goal of the worksheet is to restore me to my ability to tap into that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. So I write in the worksheet, I, Audrey, put your name in there in 1A, I, Audrey, who am love, I'm experiencing the emotion of sadness, deep grief. And I understand in this worksheet process, it tells me that every time I have hostility or fear or any other negative emotion, it lets me know that the picture my mind is creating is coming from corrupt data. It's not the truth of my existence or my life. And I'm using this process to maintain my upset. How many years ago did your son die?
Oh, she's 25, I believe.
All right. So you've been using this process, your conscious logical mind, thinking of yourself as a bad mother, repeating the cycle for 25 years, and it hasn't fixed anything. Hasn't made your life better, hasn't brought your son back, etc. That's what's intended by the word sustained incoherence in 1A and in 1B. So the story is because I'm going to suggest for you that you are 1C in this, right?
Okay.
And so you write I, or you write your name, Audrey, and then there's a comma, and you put a very simple statement here. I chose my education over visiting my son.
Well, that's right on.
Okay?
Right.
And then take a nice deep breath and let it go. And then 1D says, the truth is only my thoughts cause my emotional upset, and the thought that I'm using to create this grief is, I was selfish, I was not a good mother.
Okay.
Right? And then you take another breath, and in 1E, you say, I want to punish, trigger, in this case, it's you in 1C. And you're punishing yourself. What's your punishment thought for yourself?
By ruminating on these thoughts.
Okay, so there you would say, by keeping myself in grief, by blame, by self-loathing, any of those that you want to put there in 1E. I want to punish myself by, staying miserable, self-blame, self-loathing.
Yeah.
And then number 2 says, I choose to love truth and willingly face and process out all of the dis-ease-producing energies for and from all of my relations and generations. And I willingly go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. So breathe for each of those boxes, put a check mark, breathe. And this means after you're done with this, you might have a migraine headache, you might have an upset stomach, you might have diarrhea for several days, you might have the inability to sleep for 2 or 3 days, you might have all kinds of obsessive thoughts. And you're going to be willing to go through that as you deconstruct some of the trauma and some of the negative judgments against yourself that you've been practicing for 20-some years.
Okay. All right.
And now we want to look at what is the goal. What is it that if you had done this, if this could have been the actuality of your life, you wouldn't have this sadness, and you wouldn't have negative thoughts that you were selfish and a bad mother.
Okay.
You wouldn't have the self-loathing. What is the goal for this worksheet? What is this magical fantasy, optimal, alternative reality that if it would have happened, or if it could happen, it would make it so you wouldn't need to do this worksheet? What's the goal for this worksheet?
And the goal is that I want peace. I don't want these negative thoughts anymore. Is that
right,
a goal?
but what would take these negative thoughts away? So in this case, we suggest to people that they go with some pie-in-the-sky fantasy, like, I want to choose my son. I want to choose visiting my son. I want to choose to be selfless. If you had chosen to be selfless, if you had chosen to visit your son when he wanted, your mind is telling you that you wouldn't have had this
right.
need to do this worksheet, right?
Yes.
I mean, even if he had crashed after you had visited, you would at least say, at least I did everything I could, right? So try that goal, right? I want to be selfless and always do what's best for my children.
Right.
Now, this is just one of a whole list of positive goals that you might choose to set and then cancel. We want to make it clear that in a situation like this, there will be potentially countless goals that you're holding for things to be different. And when they aren't met, your mind then generates lots and lots of upset. So we're not expecting magic resolution to this 25-year-old problem. We're just being willing to begin the process with this particular goal. And what did you write for the goal?
I want to be selfless.
And always do what's right or always do what's best for my children, right? Something like that.
Right, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you take a breath, and then in these, we want to do a release that says, I cancel my need to make up another story out of these brain cells, out of all this information I have in my mind about how this actually happened. To try and hallucinate the proof that my story, my fear and hostility-based story, that my reality is true. I cancel my need to be right. So do that and take a breath. And then there's a little box that says, I release and surrender myself, my emotion of grief, my being selfish, my story that I was selfish and a bad mother, my thoughts about that, my punishment thoughts. I surrender it all to the energy of love. So you do those two releases, and then in the step 4, we want to take a moment or two to focus on the most loving energy, the most loving thoughts you have from any time in your life, whether they relate to this sun or not. We are not limiting it in any way. We want you to just tap into the most purely loving, happy, safe, joyful, connected, strong, courageous, peaceful energy that you can from any time in your life. So do that. Often we tell people, close their eyes, put your hand over your heart space, and then strengthen that loving energy until you get a shift. Let me know when you've gotten a shift away from this deep grief into that loving, peaceful, solid, safe, connected energy.
All right. Here it is. I have.
Okay. Good. And now just take a breath and hold on to that. And I'm going to read that when I'm upset, my perception's built out of corrupt data. It means I'm not seeing the whole picture accurately. So I'm going to choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly canceling my goals. So now you're in number 5. I've skipped some of the reading that we would encourage people to do when they have more time. But take a breath and write in 5A, I cancel my goal to be selfless and always do what's best for my children. Breathe and write that in 5A. And it says, I cancel my goal for myself to always be selfless and do what's right for my children. Let me know when you have that written.
Done. It's done.
Okay? Now we want to invite some source other than your conscious logical mind. You can invite God, light, love, Holy Spirit. What do you want to invite to support you in?
I want to invite the Holy Spirit.
Okay. So I'm going to invite Holy Spirit to incline me toward healing. Take a nice deep breath. To restore me to my newborn essence of love and that loving energy that we just tapped into. To heal my denial. to heal my capacity to generate the emotion of grief and self-loathing, and to help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the denied, the dissociated, and projected parts of my carbon-based memory. So breathe into that. And close your eyes and silently inside your mind repeat what I'm going to say out loud. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet. I put my conscious logical mind on the shelf for now. And I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this grief. Just breathe and soften and gently repeat. I cancel my need to be right. I cancel my need for anyone or anything to change, including myself. I specifically cancel my goal in this worksheet, and I ask to be shown the hidden part of my own mind that's actually creating this upset. And now just breathe and soften and trust any image that pops into your mind. Sit back, breathe, soften, gently repeat, I cancel my need to be right, but open to whatever images come up from any other time in your life. And if an image from earlier in your life comes up, go there, see how old you were, where you were, who else is there, and what's happening. And just allow that to bubble up and breathe and soften. And if you get any impressions from an earlier time in your life, as soon as you get any kind of an insight or you feel the energy shift or fade, take a nice, deep, cleansing breath and scan your body and notice what you feel most strongly right now, what emotion or thought is strongest in you right now. And write that in the space for 6A where it says, I now feel.
I feel relief.
Okay. And did you get an insight? Did you have a flash to an earlier time, whether it seems related to this or not?
I saw a baby in a crib.
Okay, and in the babe, was the baby in the crib you or somebody else or unidentified?
The baby in the crib with me.
Okay, so breathe into this, flip that worksheet over, or take a blank sheet of paper, and make notes about the baby in the crib, about yourself, about any thoughts or any emotions that go with that before you do anything else. So you wrote the word relief, and you identified that you saw an image of a baby in the crib and the baby was you. So now this is some part of your mind that's been hidden from you for quite a while. Flip a page over, take a blank sheet of paper, and make as many notes as you can about the details that come to mind with that image of that baby before you move on. And then, whether you want to stick around here with Michael and Jeannie or you want to do this on your own, you can go to the last two steps in that worksheet, which we strongly encourage people to do, to process through steps 6 and 7 and wrap this up for yourself.
Okay.
So give yourself time to make as many notes as possible about what you saw, what sights, what sounds, what sensations, what emotions might be connected to that image of the baby in the crib. Sensations, what emotions might be connected to that image of the baby in the crib before you go on to complete step 6 and step 7.
Okay. Right.
So how do you feel right now?
Well, when I started, right now, I feel like my body's okay. Before I started, it like I was nauseous. like now, I kind of feel, this is going to seem silly, I kind of feel happy. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Stay with that. I'm going to mute you so you can do our transition, and you can continue to process with Michael and Jeannie if you wish, or you can process on your own. And please feel free to let us know Monday and all next week how this goes. I thank you so much for the call. Blessings. I'll mute you, and I'll do the closing and shift over, and Michael and Jeannie can take it from there if you want to stay on. Is that all right?
That's fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Blessings. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Thank you, and I hope you have a good weekend.
All right. Same to you. Have a great show.
Bye. Okay. Bye. Welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, February the 12th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And Michael's actually not going to be with us today, but I'm going to check. I have one that I was going to play, but Audrey, if you need to continue, then we will do that.
Well, I thank you, and I think I'm going to defer it, but I
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, you just take care and have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you then on Monday.
Blessings.
Awesome.